Well, it's the beginning of April, and currently it's the mandatory British close season on rivers for coarse fish. The trout anglers typically could get out now, but of course, with the coronavirus epidemic, everyone's on lockdown. Nobody can get out, so we just have to do what we can at home, like tidy up the sheds and sort out your tackle and stuff like that. But immediately this time of year, my thoughts start running towards getting back in the rivers, and I'm mad keen to get back in the rivers. The very first fish that I always look forward to getting back targeting is the chub. Now, typically, I'm from Ireland. We don't have chub in Ireland, so it's kind of really only when I landed on English shores that I started kind of becoming aware of the fish and fishing for them. Prior to that, I'd only ever seen them on kind of Matt Hayes videos and whatever. So I was always a bit intrigued by them. So kind of was when I moved over, it was one of the first species I kind of decided to have a go at. Initially, of course, I went along with the traditional, typical sort of approach with the bait and pellets and all of that, and that was successful enough. And I found them a very obliging fish. But I kind of thought, you know what, these I knew they were predators, and I know they like a lure. So I said, well, let's see what they go for. What have I got in my armory? And I'm a sponsored angler. I'm sponsored by Doyo Concept and Iron Claw. So we had loads and loads of lures that were irrelevant in Ireland. Really, they were quite specific to targeting chub. So in that, I found wonderful lures like these square-billed little mini crankbaits. They've got this square bill on the front, which gives it quite a unique action. You don't with chub, you don't really want a flanking action. You want more of a butt wiggle sort of action like that. And these shallow running square bill crankbaits are ideal for chub. Chub just absolutely smash them. And truth be told, I know I'll bring all of this. I'll bring that box with me mostly down the river. But truth be told, probably that would cover 100% of what I'm at with chub. But I do like other stuff as well, stuff like this little blade bait. I don't know if you can see it there, but they chub love those kind of things. The only problem with this type of lure is that these little hooks get caught up on the rear blade, and also particularly with chub, I don't know why, but they like to smack onto the back of that rather than hit the whole lure. So sometimes you can get them to smash a bait, but you'll lose them often enough. So this is a little Ishi, again from Iron Claw and the Doyo Concept. It's slightly smaller in profile, a little bit stubbier. It's 3.2 centimeters. Again, you got the little square type bill, and of course that action again is going to be more flanky. This is brand new in the range. I've not even really had a chance to throw it at chub yet, but I'm certain they'll absolutely smash them, no problem at all. Other baits that work well for chub are these little things, little surface baits. 1 second. Jitterbugs. Chub are absolutely addicted to jitterbugs on the right conditions. It doesn't have to be chucked under a tree or anything like that. Right out in open water at the height of summer, plop, 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 plop that along, and the chub will come up and absolutely smash them. They love them, absolutely love them. One bait I don't particularly fish all that much for the chub are like soft plastics. I don't find they're all that versatile, especially in my little river, to be honest with you. And I just stick with the little spinners, and bell spinners can be very handy as well. So those are kind of my basic approach to it. In terms of the rod and other kit, then I've got, for example, a rod like this, which is a 2.28 centimeter long. It's a Goza from Doyo Concept. It's probably a little bit longer than a lot of people would use on a river, but I find with chub, quite often when they come bounding into your near side bank, you want that little bit of extra rod just to kind of push them back out away from your underfoot. Plus it kind of helps flicking baits into kind of quite precise little areas, and the reel is about a 2,000 size, which you will get away with a 1,000 size, but a 2,500 size is a 3,000 size, but that's about right. Braided line, of course, and quite often on the end of the braided line as a leader, I use a fluorocarbon leader. Now a lot of people out there are against fluorocarbon and I understand their misgivings, but where I've fished, there are almost no pike, and I mean almost no pike. In the 6 years I've been fishing my little stretch of river, I've encountered like two, and I've landed them. So like chub are absolute king. They're big and they're bold, and they just seem to displace any pike that are around. So I've got no problem or qualms about using the fluorocarbon. Um, and then to that I use a double uni knot to join my fluorocarbon to the braid, and that's about £10 fluorocarbon, and then a nice little snap on the end, bit like these ones. These are 9 kg ones, but they're nice open bend. You can see that helps changing small lures, fiddly little small lures. If the snaps are too small, they can just be kind of frustrating to change the snaps and change the lures frequently. So I go for the kind of more open looped snaps, and these again, like I said, they're in 9 kg, and these are ideal, absolutely ideal. So I tie my fluorocarbon directly to one of those, or alternatively, now I did mention pike. There are the odd times when pike are around. If I fish in other rivers that aren't my local or whatever, and I don't know what the pike population is, I will use a titanium leader. And these are almost invariably in solid titanium form. This is only literally, I think this is 12-pound titanium, solid titanium. You might think that sounds like it's undergunning it, but the beauty of it is not necessarily that it's robust or whatever. It's more about that it springs. Believe me, if you really pull this, if you can kind of feel it springing a bit, so it can take a fair old beating. On this, because I'm always trying to keep the weight down, because heavy leaders really affect these ultra light lures. That's mostly why I'm using this seemingly light titanium. But what I use as a connector are these things. They're called knot a knot instead of a swivel. These actually couldn't be easier to connect. They couldn't be easier to connect. All you do is just with your braid, you form a loop with your braid. Just form a simple loop with your braid. You connect it onto that. Then you go around that once, and then up the shank of the knot a knot, and then you just pull it through, and that's going nowhere. Really, really going nowhere. The beauty of these things, they're really, really light. They tend not to affect the action of these ultralight little baits. So that's a handy little thing. And also you change it in seconds. If you had cold fingers, ideal, absolutely ideal. So something to have a look at perhaps. So as you can imagine, down the river, I'm really covering an awful lot of ground. I mean, on a daily basis I can walk miles. So it's a very, very roving style of approach to fishing. And when you really want to be traveling light, nothing heavy, no big bags and stuff to lug around the place or seats or anything like that. You're basically going from swim to swim, making a couple of casts and moving on again. So bags like this is again the Doyo concept, again from Iron Club. This is an ideal bag. It's a shoulder bag. It's got 2 compartments to it, but there's plenty of space in there. I've got my weighing stuff in here, bag and weighing scales in there, and then on the other side of this other little pouch here, these are all my snaps, leaders, all that kind of stuff, and then some unhooking equipment and clips for retying on leaders and whatever. So the bag is quite important really, unless you can stuff it in your pockets, which of course you could. And then my net is actually quite specific as well, and I know it's chub and it's very, very small rivers. Most of the time you can jump straight across the river, very, very narrow, but I do like to bring a bigger net. I've caught some really surprising fish. I've had trout up to nearly double figures, chub over 5 pounds. As I said, you get the odd pike, stuff like that. So you want a big enough net to be able to land them. But probably for me, more importantly, is the actual handle. A lot of the time I'm fishing these banks with really steep down, you're really far back from the river. So you want a kind of a handle that can extend long and get right down into the river. And this one really extends. It's quite long. There's plenty of meterage there just to get you back down onto the river and net up your fish. So that's quite an important bit of kit for me, as is. But that pretty much sums up my summer approach with chubbing on lures down the river. If you haven't given it a go, I'd absolutely urge you to give it a go. I don't really fish for pike in the summer, and that's not me being preachy, but it's just what I do instead of pike fishing. But if you haven't had a go at chub on lures, my God, have a crack at it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I hope you've been able to hear me. I haven't been any kind of high-tech microphones or anything. So, and I hope it was worth the watch and you learned a bit. Thanks a lot, folks. Cheers. All the best and stay safe. Stay indoors, by the way.